I'm not afraid of hurricanes. I always had respect for them because I always prepared. Whether it was a Category 1 or a Category 5, you have to be prepared. And then I've made it my mandate now with my family that if it's a Category 0, we won't stay because of the mental impact that it had on myself and my wife. We just said, get out of harm's way.
Give me a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take as much time as you need.
And just reliving all of those feelings that I had.
What does the Bahamas mean to me? The best answer that I come up with is home.
The Bahamas means home, love, and family.
The Bahamas, it means like my family, my friends, and just my
home. That's probably the simplest way I can say it, but yeah, home, family, good food, warm.
It's everything, and I won't want to live anywhere else.
The way we speak, the way we dress, the food we eat, it's just great to feel unique, and there's no better place like the Bahamas.
There have been more than 1,600 Bahamian students to come to St. Ben's and St. John's, which is more than any other college or university outside of the Bahamas. So the history of St. Ben's, St. John's in the Bahamas goes back over 100 years to the 1890s when the abbot of St. John's Monastery sent a missionary down to the Bahamas. And so the missionary, Father Chrysostom Schreiner, was sent to kind of minister to that small Catholic community. And he didn't have a lot of success until he formed a friendship with Etienne Dupuche, who was the editor of a newspaper in the Bahamas. And Etienne kind of helped him establish relationships with other Bahamians. And then in return for that friendship, Father Chrysostom sent Etienne to St. John's in 1927, and Etienne Dupuche was one of the first 2 Black students to arrive at St. John's University.
So y'all in the first ahead, but it was meant for y'all, so here we go. Dance, dance, island boy. Dance in the sunshine, dance in the snowfall. Show them your motion, make a commotion, bang on your goatskin drum. Drum, island boy. Draw the sweet sounds from the tum-tum. Shake, shake, island boys. Teach them the beauty of the noise the cowbells make. Whine, whine, island girl. Whine your way across the world. Carry with you the sound of the sea like gleaming conch shells along the beach and sing. Sing, island girl, sing the world to its knees with the power of the songs that set us free. Weave, weave, island girl. Weave your own fate, open your baskets to new opportunities, and live, live, island girl, live for your own sake. Thank you.
So show me emotion. So show me emotion. So show me emotion.
I would describe the Bahamian community on campus as being very vibrant, energetic, and super fun. We really love to be the innovators and thinkers on campus, and we really try to make our campus as home as possible, if that makes sense.
We always know how to have a good time. We're always, very tight-knit community, familial kind of culture. And what I mean by that is that, like, a lot of people, I think, are very like close with their families. Family is an important aspect of the culture, from everything from, you know, just general support to having a good time to whatever it might be. It's a very colorful and dynamic and just, I guess, a fun-loving culture.
So the Bahamas is sort of like a mixed culture. So the roots come from Africa, Great Britain, and like the Americas. So the culture is really mixed. So just think of like those like 3 continents and just like mix it up in like a salad or something.
The distance. Okay. This is fish fry. I'm gonna just drive through if I can. Okay. Yes, I can. They have a whole number of different restaurants that usually serve pretty much a Bahamian cuisine. As you can tell, tourism is our big business. And you can therefore imagine what it was like during the pandemic when there was no tourism.
Well, of course, the Bahamas is a tourism country. We thrive off that. We thrive off our pristine blue waters, and you could actually see your limbs inside the water, unlike Lake Sag or something. But I think we really rely on the ocean just as a means of life. I mean, as far as we could go back, like we always need the ocean for everything from just like fishing or just like surviving and just getting that time to do recreational activities in the ocean. I think that the ocean plays a huge factor for my community, and it's one of the biggest reasons why people want to come to the Bahamas and visit to see the pristine clear waters.
So for Bahamians, the ocean and nature is really a part of culture. We are a small island developing state, so there's not a time that we're not connected to the ocean. Just driving in our car to work, we see the ocean. It's a part of our culture, of what we eat. So for example, grouper and snapper and conch are all part of our diet. Seafood is a main part of the Bahamian diet and culture. So we depend on the ocean for livelihoods, but our way of life and our culture and identity.
When I go home, the first thing I do is get on the beach, go in the water, dunk my head under the water. And the old people say that it clears up all your sinuses. So it's have the health benefit to go into the water and everything.
Well, I believe ocean is just life. It brings life. It has so much different capabilities. When I'm by the ocean, I feel most at peace. And just over the Christmas break, I had the opportunity to take my grandmother to the beach and just watch the clouds with her and watch the ocean come in. And it really just brings a peace of mind and just serenity. And I really feel comfortable and most at ease when I'm by the ocean and feeling the ocean breeze.
I've always considered like the duality of water, and it's like, how could something that we need to live also like be so dangerous and sometimes take lives, you know?
With the onset of Hurricane Dorian really devastating our country, I think that for the first time it maybe made people stop and think, we've really never experienced a hurricane as a nation having this much devastation to us. And, is this a change? This is obviously a change. What's causing this change? So if anything, it's made us think, why are these changes happening? Why are we seeing more frequent hurricanes? Why are we having hurricanes that are normally our hurricane season goes to November and now ends in November, but now we are seeing hurricane warnings in the middle of November, so why is that season extending? And so it's definitely prompting people to ask questions and Bahamians to wonder why.
The Bahamas and small island developing states, or SIDS, are particularly affected by climate crisis because they're low-lying out in the middle of the ocean. A major effect of climate crisis is sea level rise and greater stronger storms, so hurricanes. And so global average temperature increase means we have melting glaciers, melting ice caps. This causes sea level rise, and that directly affects the land area of small island states. And another big consequence of this is the seawater coming into these areas can contaminate freshwater supplies. And then we have these storms. And Storms are caused by, we have increasing temperatures in the air, we have increasing temperatures of the ocean. All of these things combined to create not necessarily more storms, but the storms that we do have are becoming stronger and stronger, and that's directly related to climate crisis.
Well, I remember when I was a child in the Bahamas, I lived with my mom and my brother, and it was crazy when we saw hurricanes or like tropical depressions. I got excited.
From in my memory, I can remember my first hurricane was about, that was like 12 years ago. It was like, oh my gosh, no school. That was the most exciting part about it. And I just was super excited.
Like I literally was like, oh my gosh, there's gonna be so much wind, so much rain. And typically the electricity is turned off during that time.
Everyone's gonna hang out because the electricity be off. We'll all hang out, play board games, do something.
So you really had an opportunity to talk with your family members and really get to know them more, see a lot of funny stuff and just like play around.
That was what it was for like a long time, I think, until I got into high school.
As an adult, and witnessing the severity change with hurricanes has been very fascinating, and not in a good way, because I feel like there was more hurricanes back when I was a child, but it was less severe. But now it's less hurricanes, but the severity has doubled or tripled in mass and size, and the damages that they have are monumental.
Hurricane Dorian made landfall on the Bahamas with wind speeds of 185 miles per hour, with gusts going up over 200 miles per hour.
It's just terrifying when you're just thinking about these are actually people this is not like CNN or MSNBC, like when you're on TV and you're seeing people on top of their roofs, that's people That's not just some far away, that's nothing to worry about, because that's, my friends. I grew up with these people. I know their parents. Those are like my aunts and uncles.
Rapidly strengthening over the past 24 hours to a monster Category 5 storm.
You can see what it's doing here, and off in the distance, those waves crashing against the pier. Officials fear that this storm will leave catastrophic damage here in this part of the islands.
Heavy rains and winds, and you can see the flooding already a major issue there.
Everyone, please pray for us, please. Please, my baby's only 4 months old. Please pray for us.
Now, when I hear about a hurricane, I am very worried about my family members, especially being so far away from home and seeing the impact it had on Abaco, like Dorian. It really hit close to home, and that was like one of my first major hurricanes that I was in the Bahamas for. So seeing all these videos, hearing people's stories, it really made me realize how this is not a game, this is not a joke. These are really serious and devastating hurricanes that could possibly take your loved ones away.
It was a really bad time for me because the week before I was set to come to college, my grandmother died. And I came to college and I was here for a week. And then after that week, I had to go home for the funeral. And during the week that I was here, Dorian was happening. And so I had to travel right after Dorian to go back home. And I remember hearing about it. So I was in constant contact with my family back home. It was really a time that showed, I guess, the strength of the Bahamian community and just how people would help each other. So people who had jet skis and boats were actually going to these people and rescuing them. And that was really good to see, because it's at least some people are getting saved, but it's so many people that didn't get saved during it. And I was constantly worried because, like I said before, I had a lot of family members on these islands that were affected, and it was really stressful to be here and not be able to do anything. Give me a second. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Take as much time as you need.
And just reliving all of those feelings that I had. But it was like a really stressful time, and I was thinking like, what if like I'm here, and what if like when I go back home for my grandmother's funeral, that like I don't see a family member that is supposed to be there, or like just like something happening to like my mom or my dad. And it was a really stressful time, I would say.
So just take a look now. This was pine forest, and because this was hit by the most severe portion of Dorian, it destroyed all the pine trees. You will see that when I will show you pretty much 10 miles out from Marsh Harbor, you're gonna see a break where all the trees here are destroyed, and then you're gonna see pine trees. And that clearly shows you this area was just so tremendously affected by Dorian. My name is Jeremy Sanders. I'm a senior fisheries superintendent. I work for the Department of Marine Resources, which is one of the government agencies here. I was here in Dorian. I was in my house in Dorian when it got destroyed.
When they talked about the effect of a Category 5 hurricane, the damage is catastrophic. Well, they didn't have to tell me that. I lived it. I see a lot of American TV news. They talk about tornadoes. Here's a siren for a tornado. If you don't have a bunker, then you would find a center room in your house and you hunker down in there, okay? It's the same scenario that I would have understood with a hurricane. Okay, here's my roof getting ripped off. So I told my wife, I said, get Jeremy, our son, and you guys go in we have a bathroom that's in the center of the house. And so they stayed in there. I kind of stayed in the corridor just to see if we were going to have to leave. And once the roof ripped off, and I went into the bathroom with them, then that ceiling came off. So then we moved out of that room we have a walk-in closet that's also in the center. You know, with everything blowing around, it seems like forever. But it wasn't long. We were in there, maybe 20 minutes or so. And when I came back out into the front portion of the house, the roof was already gone. And so I looked at it, I said, now, without knowing how much more of the roof was gonna go, I said, you know what, I need to make a decision. And I went back, I told my wife, I said, you know what, we can't stay in there anymore. I told her I would go and check the truck to see if we could at least go in there until this turmoil subsides. And you know, I had to go out in that storm. I had to go to the truck. When I got to the truck, the roof on the truck was already smashed in. What smashed the roof on the truck was my roof coming off. I ended up coming back to the house. I told my wife, I had to tell her everything I was doing. I said, okay, I'm going to take my son, put him in the truck, and I'm going to come back and get you. So I had to go put him in the truck, come back to the house, get our dog, and we went in the truck. And we stayed in there just praying. And I mean, the wind had that truck. Things were hitting it. When we got in the eye, which is the calm, where the roof was mashed in, the windshield was shattered, but we were able to leave from there and go to, like I said, a safer building. I've had persons who live in Nassau, when I was over there, say, well, why y'all just didn't move? I said, you know, listen here, man. Nobody knew that. Nobody knew. Not even the Hurricane Center. They only estimated that it was going to strengthen. If they had told us from Saturday night that by 11 it'll be 185 miles an hour, I don't think nobody would have lost their lives there. We may have all moved. You see, but we just didn't know that it was going to strengthen in that little 6-hour window. to that, to that force in such a period.
Y'all say hi to the camera.
My brother goes to school in Indianapolis, so like his first day was yesterday. He has like so many things that he can do. Like he could do a program, he could do aviation, he could do pharmacy tech, he could do construction, like he could do anything he wants. It's nothing like that here for us to do.
Right.
Like it's so much. It's like the options are so limited, and that's the only thing. It's like I wish there were more opportunities because I do love living here, but it's like, what's the point if there's nothing for you to do?
You were born here, you have to stay here.
But then on the other hand, it's like Bahamians who are obsessed with trying to like go to the United States, and it's like, okay, just calm down, we get it, like there's more opportunities, but like you can't just let that like overtake the fact that the Bahamas isn't a terrible place, and it's where you were born, it's where you live. Like as a person who has lived in the United States, like people, they only think about it like when you go on vacation and you have your spending money and you like go do all the fun things, and when you live there, it's just almost just like living here because it gets boring. When you run out of money, like you just have a normal life like you do here, so it's really no different, I don't feel like.
My name is Lauren Scriven and I'm a 10th grader here at Agape Christian School. I have actually had the unfortunate experience of being displaced because of Hurricane Dorian. So I was forced to leave my family, my friends, and my life, so it definitely made me shine a light on climate change and its effects. My home was gone. When we rode through the city or like the main settlement, my school was gone, like everything was pretty much gone and everything was flooded, and a lot of people felt like they couldn't escape because everything was flooded, the airport was destroyed, everyone thought they were just stranded on the island and no one was coming to like rescue us. We saw like planes flying over us, but it's like no one was stopping. We saw a couple helicopters, but they only picked up certain people, so a lot of us thought that we would never be rescued from there. Well, whenever it's hurricane season, everyone is still really afraid, and I too am really afraid whenever it's hurricane season because you never know if it could be another Dorian coming. So I think people are, taking extra precautions, and I'm kind of glad that it's happening because when we like got the warning for Dorian, no one really thought anything. It was like a category 2, and then overnight it went to a category 5, and then no one had time to prepare. So now I'm glad that people are taking extra precautions. I think people don't know like the mental like toll it takes on you. First, like a couple days after the hurricane, or even like a couple months after the hurricane, I just kind of felt, I didn't really feel normal. And even now, you still don't feel like how it used to be. Like I said, with hurricane season, like you just don't feel normal anymore. We recently had like a tropical storm, so everyone had to like put hurricane shutters up, even though it was just a tropical storm. And like when you like hear the wind and you see like the roads flooding again, you start to just get this like creeping feeling that the same thing is going to happen again, even though you know it's not a hurricane.
I'm grateful to my department. Once I moved to Nassau, I guess the people in social services saw the need to have everybody that was in Abaco, in Dorian, maybe do some type of therapy, counseling. It really brought out a lot of stuff that I didn't know was affecting me mentally. One of the things I learned in some of the counseling sessions was that, I lost a lot of friends. I have some friends that have never been found for whatever reason. They went out with the water or whatever. And then it just so happened when I was describing how many times I went out to the truck, I think I counted, there were 9 times when I went out. I was in harm's way. and nothing happened to me. No wood hit me, knocked me out. And for about 4 months, one of the therapists, he told me that he think one of my problems was I was suffering from what they call survivor's guilt, because my coworker who was here, he was in Dorian. He's a big guy, 6'4". He went out to save his sister. He got knocked out. Somebody saved him, and he lost his sister, and he lost his sister-in-law. He couldn't save them. And when I thought of that, it really played in my head emotionally, to where I just had to understand that, you know what, because that happened with him, that's not always the story for everybody. Because I always thought about, there were 9 times anything could have hit me in my head, knocked me out, killed me. But why didn't it happen? I don't know. I'd say it was God.
I want to take this opportunity to join with my fellow leaders from this platform to express my country's deepest sympathy and empathy with our brothers and sisters in the government and the people of Bahamas with respect to the awful devastation visited upon them by Hurricane Dorian on the islands of Abaco and Grand Bahama. That catastrophe represents an unfortunate new normal for many in small island developing states. From my own first-hand knowledge, it was horrific.
In 2019, I had the privilege to attend the UN General Assembly with my country's delegation. And this is right after Dorian. And 2 speakers there really moved me when it came to those. That's our Prime Minister.
The hurricane was a physical apocalypse for some communities. Mr. President, our hearts still ache as I address you here this afternoon. Thousands in our country still suffer and face great difficulties in the future.
The second is the Honorable Mia Motley, who's the current Prime Minister of Barbados.
But I want to say from this platform that for me, it is significant that when young people engage in battle, the war is usually won. We saw it in South Africa. We will see it now in the battle against climate. And I am therefore confident that the battle will be won. The question is, and each of us in here knows it, will it be in time for our people who live in small island developing states? Will our small states survive this climate catastrophe before mankind finds ultimately, as I know it will, the solution to halt and reverse climate change? And it is we in the Caribbean and in the Pacific, in the oceans of the world, as small islands, we are the ones on the front line. But as I say to you all the time, make no mistake about it. Others are also in the line behind us. And as we would say in my own country, today for me and tomorrow for you.
When one storm can obliterate an island state or a number of states in one hurricane season, how will we survive? How can we develop? How can we continue to exist?
Everybody from different parts of the world that you don't think about, or who you would think don't think about us. And those leaders from our region made the plight to them to say, stop it. We are feeling it. We are the ones our homes are being destroyed. People are dying when natural disasters happen like this. And this is a direct cause of climate change, which is a direct result of industrialized nations I am hopeful that leaders in our region and in our world will take a look at us and see what's happening and understand that, you know, we are vulnerable to their actions. And I'm hopeful that they will take that into consideration. But realistically, on the path that we're going right now, and globally, I don't see hope for small countries like us to be able to fare the big storms that will come, the big changes in our environment that will come. But all you can do right now is just pray for better days.
In high school, like, we would say that, what are we gonna do in like however much years when the Bahamas is underwater? It's something that you try not to think about too much, because it's like, that's your home, like that's where you grew up. But looking at the rate that everything is going at, it's like, maybe I'll have to find like a home somewhere else, because my home will no longer be in existence.
What gives me hope is like the people, I think the younger generation back home right now, it's the people who are there, they are doing a lot of things that, like, very climate conscious, I'd say. There aren't a lot of people that are making the same mistakes that were made in the past.
Well, it's the next generation coming. So it's our youth that are growing up and see these changes, that hear stories from their grandparents and their parents, and their passion for the next generation and to combat and to protect their resources, their natural resources. That's motivating. We have a whole new generation of Bahamians that are seeing what's happening to the country. We're more connected globally around the world. We know what's happening, and that actually makes you value your resources and what you have a lot more. So as young Bahamians are see in the media what other countries have or what other countries are going through, they're realizing the value of our natural resources here, and that we need to work to ensure that we have them for the future generations.
I'm very hopeful. I'm very optimistic to see like what happens, but at the same time we have to make sure to be realistic, and we have to sacrifice a lot of things. Like, Rome wasn't built in a day, and we have to be very mindful that if we want something good at the end, we have to put in the work. So sacrifice will be the most important thing that I could encourage the Bahamas to do, to see what things we can cut down on, or like what things we can do so other countries can follow.
But I think that after, I get my degree and I am successful, I'll come back and I'll hopefully be able to give Bahamian students like me the opportunities they probably couldn't get if they stayed here. I can't really live anywhere long term other than here, because I feel like this is the perfect place for me.
The Bahamas to me is everything. There's an expression for Bahamians, we say born, bred, dead Bahamian, which of course we were born in the Bahamas. We were bred there, which means that we were grown up there our entire lives, and dead means that we're going to die Bahamian. So at the end of the day, no matter what country we're in, no matter where we go, we're always going to represent the 242. And I think it's something that will hopefully be one of the forefront movers of like promoting this agenda and this initiative for addressing the climate change and the crisis for the future.
But there's still some among us. They're also inspiring. Thank God for He's kept them through the years. Tell me, who's gonna fill that shoe? Tell me, who's gonna stand that tall? Tell me, who's gonna make the effort to help us one and all? I wanna know who's gonna give their heart and soul to get to me and you. Lord, I wonder. Tell me, who's gonna fill that shoe? Tell me, who's gonna fill that shoe? Tell me, who's gonna stand that tall? Tell me, who's gonna make the effort to help us one and all? I wanna know who's gonna give their heart and soul to get to me and you. Lord, I wonder. Just tell me, who's gonna fill that shoe? brothers, I wonder.
Tell me,
who's gonna fill that shoe? Oh Lord, I'm talking about religious leaders. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, I'm talking the Anglican bishop. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, and the 7-day Adventist. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Great God, I'm talking about the Baptist preacher. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, and the Pentecostal pastor. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, I'm talking about William Wilson. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Great God, I'm talking about Clarence Ramin. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, I think about the cultural people. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Great God, like the Kayla Locker Edwards. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, I think about Winston Saunders. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, I'm talking about the nation leaders. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Sometimes I think about the freedom fighters. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, I'm talking about the hello Penlin. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, I'm talking about the Wallace Redfield. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My God, I think about Milo Butler. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, I can't forget good Sir Randall. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, I think about the gospel singers. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good old gospel like the old region bellboy. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, and redemption gospel singers. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, we love those old cool and water. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, we love Mother Rachel Markey. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, we love you, old brother JJ. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, we can't forget Dr. Barry. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, if you did not hear your name, don't worry. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, forgive us, the list is too tall. Don't worry. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Oh Lord, you know we got good intention. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Those names are just too many to mention. Who's gonna fill that shoe? My Lord, I'm asking the Ramin brothers. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, I'm asking the Ramin brothers. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Oh Lord, I'm asking the Ramin brothers. Who's gonna fill that shoe? Good God, I'm asking the Ramin brothers. Who's gonna fill that shoe?